The expansion is upon us. Tomorrow, we're finally going to get to play with the new cards, which means today, Riot gave us the final piece of the puzzle. They revealed Irelia, the last champion that we know is coming in the new set. And yes, she deals with Blade Dance. We expected that after seeing the cards revealed yesterday. We've already talked a bit about Blade Dance, but after we go through the cards revealed today, I want to talk about deck building possibilities and potential. Well, let's just dive right into Irelia and what she does. Irelia is a 3-cost Ionia champion. She has quick attack and a 3/2 body, so very similar to Zed. Yes, she can potentially die to Mystic Shot, but I think that the value you get from her is going to potentially be worth it, because unlike a Zed, who sometimes you play him and he just dies, you might at least get one trigger of Blade Dance out of her, because when she is summoned, or on round start, if you have the attack token, you create a Flawless Duet in hand. Flawless Duet is a 1-cost slow spell with fleeting, so you have to use it or you lose it, but you Blade Dance for 2. So that's a very nice, you pay 1, you get 2 1/1 attackers, but it's also a free attack, and you get whatever triggers come along with that. So again, I know we're going to talk about deck building possibilities in a minute, but if you were to pass on round 1, Emperor's Deus on round 2, on round 3, you could play the Irelia, and then even if she dies, you can spend your 1 banked spell mana to Blade Dance for 2, and you're also going to get that Deus attack in there as well. So very, very nice. Irelia levels up when 12 or more allies have attacked, and if you're Blade Dancing, you should be hitting that pretty easily, and even more so, again, depending on how you deck build. When she does level up, she gets the standard +1/+1, so she becomes a 4/3 with quick attack. Has the same text regarding the Flawless Duet, so still on summon or on round start if you have the attack token, but she also says when allies attack, so it doesn't even need to be her. When allies attack, you create a Blade Surge in hand. Blade Surge is a 0-cost fleeting burst spell that says swap Irelia with an ally. Now, I absolutely adore that it's created when allies attack, which means you can technically leave her on the bench, send in a bunch of units, and then if they unblock something, right, if they leave something open, then Irelia can jump in its place risk free. And if they block everything, then maybe you can have her jump into a place where with her quick attack, she is getting a value trade. This lets you play a lot of mind games, and I adore it. I already loved yesterday's swap spell. This just adds to that. I am a big fan. I also love that Irelia doesn't just natively have Blade Dance, but she gives you a way to create cards that have it. And the reason that I like that, because she's a 3/2, yes, she has the quick attack that helps to protect her, but because she is a 3/2, she is prone to potentially dying by accident. So I like that they gave her kind of this hybrid position, this hybrid design as a champion, where she is rewarded for being offensive because she counts towards leveling herself up. She has the quick attack, but you can also treat her like a backline champion. She reminds me a lot of Lucian in that regard. Sometimes Lucian, he just sits on your bench until you level him up, and sometimes he jumps in the fray. It all depends on, you know, how much mana does your opponent have available, what's their board like, what's your mana like, etc., etc. And so I love that with Irelia and her design, you get to have more agency in how you are choosing to flip her. So overall, I personally really like that they went with giving her a card and the card Blade Dances, as opposed to her having Blade Dance, or her every time she attacks Blade Dances, or whatever. So I really like this design. We're going to jump to the bottom right of this graphic real quick, because this is her champion spell. It's Vanguard's Edge. This is a 7-cost slow spell. It says Blade Dance 3, and you pick an ally to attack with the blades. I believe in the reveal video, they used this on the duo, for example. It has elusive. It gets a bonus whenever units are summoned, and so by using this on the duo, it jumped up to like a 5/1 elusive plus the blades attacking. So there are some neat things that obviously you can do with a spell like this, but the other card revealed today, and I'm a big fan of this card, is Lead and Follow. This is a 2-cost fast spell in Ionia, and it says recall an ally to create a Flawless Duet in hand. So why do I love this card? One, it's a droplet target, so any additional ways that I can bounce that little thing and draw cards and take advantage of the attune, I love. But I also love that they gave you with lead and follow, a way to blade dance that's basically just spending spell mana. Obviously, you have to replay the ally, but for the most part, you're going to invest 3 to blade dance for 2. You're going to recall your ally, you make the duet, you play the duet, that's 3 mana. Now, that's important to me because that means I get to experiment with Field Musicians. Now, Field Musicians is a card that's already in the game, but it hasn't seen a whole lot of play because the conditions haven't been right for it yet. That's the, I think it's a 4 cost. It's a 4 cost 1/4 with a tune, but it reads, when you've summoned 3 allies in a round, you refill your spell mana and you draw 1. And I've been keeping my eye on that card for a bit because I knew at some point there would be a way to abuse it. And I think that all of these options with Blade Dance, that could be the thing that lets you abuse it. I think that Field Musician's time might actually be now. It's going to take some testing, but I just really like that something like lead and follow into a duet is going to use your spell mana and then you refill it right away with the musicians. You draw a card. There's just a lot of, I think, potential there. I'm also a big fan of just running Droplet potentially in decks like this to begin with, because not only is it an elusive unit, and so that's something that you can maybe attack with your blades and so on and so forth, but also I want to try to cheese out either Irelia or Misfortune or Azir, because they're all 3 drops on turn 2. So with the new Droplet and Retreat Return, you can, because you're playing the Droplet and then that attunes on 1, return it to your hand with Retreat, and then you use Return with your 3rd mana to play a 3 or less at burst speed from hand. And so if you are attacking on odds, putting Misfortune into play so that you can be ready on the next round to take advantage of Blade Dance or whatever, is really powerful. Or if you're attacking on evens, being able to play something like an Irelia or even a Zed on round 2 is nutty. I can't wait to abuse that in terms of deck building as well. So looking at this, I think the 2 most popular Irelia decks on day 1 are going to be Misfortune / Bilgewater oriented ones, where again, you're just trying to basically burn your opponent down with the Misfortune trigger over and over and over, because the blades by themselves aren't necessarily amazing, but if you also get that 1 damage every time because of Misfortune, that makes up for a lot. That increases the clock pretty significantly, regardless of whether they can block the blades or not. The other really popular one is going to be Azir, because Azir cares about you playing units, and obviously Blade Dance does a lot of that. Irelia cares about units attacking, and obviously Azir helps in that regard. And cards like Deus are beautiful with Blade Dance because it's just even more units, and you can run cards like Marshall, for example, so that the blades and the soldiers are getting those benefits. I think that those 2 decks are going to be very, very popular day 1 as far as Irelia decks go, and for good reason. I don't know which one I lean more towards personally yet. I feel like Irelia Azir is going to be very similar to Lucian Azir as far as play patterns go. There are pros and cons to both builds, but I just feel like if you're somebody who enjoyed Lucian Azir, you're probably going to enjoy the Irelia version as well. It won't be 100% the same. It might be better. It might be worse. Personally, I think it's going to end up being slightly better, because I think the ability to run some of these positional swap cards is really important. But I won't know until we test it. But I think that those decks will play similar. The Misfortune one is, I think, going to be very similar to playing Scouts. So if you're somebody who's always enjoyed Misfortune Scouts, then I think Irelia Misfortune, again, will have a very similar feel. It won't be exactly the same because, you won't have as much Challenger going in your favor, and you're going to have to rely a bit more on the Blade Dance kind of gimmick, but you'll get a lot of Misfortune triggers, and I think that one might be more consistent at getting health totals low, but I think that one also might suffer because you don't have redundancy. So Misfortune, very key to that deck, but if you don't draw your Misfortunes, or you do draw one and then it dies, granted you're playing Ionia, so you might have Nopifies or Denies to help keep your Misfortune alive. That part's nice, but if you don't find your Misfortune or she perishes, that deck I think is going to struggle a bit more. But when I talk about redundancy in the Azir version of the deck, you can play Azir and certainly get that value from Azir buffing up the blades once he's leveled, but you also have Marshall to buff your blades as well. And then as far as the summoning of the Sand Soldiers, you have Deus to buffer if you don't draw Azir. So I think that in terms of consistency, the Azir one is going to be a bit more consistent because of redundancies. But in terms of just straight burning the health total, the Bilgewater one is going to have access to those Bilgewater burn cards. It'll have access to Crackshot Corsair, which helps a little bit, but it's not quite the same as Misfortune. And then obviously Misfortune and so on and so forth. So I don't know which one's going to be better, but I am looking forward to playing both. I think it's going to be a very fun archetype. I like to attack, and even if they're not quote unquote real attacks, all of these Blade Dance attacks are going to make me very, very happy. So that's it for the cards revealed. There is one other, I guess, brief bit of news I wanted to cover. I wanted to make sure I waited and covered patch notes, and there were actually some relevant patch notes that are going to be coming with the expansion tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and shift over here to my desktop real quick so we can cover these. There are a pair of card updates coming. The first one, and I think everybody saw this coming, is Atrocity is going from 6 to 7. The big issue with Atrocity is that it was very cost effective for what it did, and it was at fast speed. It was very comparable to something like Dragon's Rage, which was 7 and slow. And the fact that you could, in the late stages of the game, bank enough mana where you could threaten an Atrocity, and if they have the answer, you could threaten another Atrocity. Well, I mean, it was just creating some really rough moments. And obviously, Nasus Thresh has been very, very powerful as an archetype on the ladder as of late, had a lot of representation in tournaments, so they're trying to adjust that as a result. And so Atrocity taking a small nerf from 6 to 7. I think that card still gets played at 7. All the decks that ran it before likely still run it. It just slows down the effectiveness, and it creates some additional play patterns for playing around it, because like I said, at the late stages, you don't have to worry about playing around 2 Atrocities. Now, the other card that's adjusted is Bladed Caretaker. This goes from a 2/1 to a 1/1, and they just kind of talk about how in the early game, this card specifically was creating a lot of additional pressure, but also creating potential slays. You are already getting 2 likely from the challenges from the saplings, but if you block the Caretaker, that was probably getting you a slay as well. And so that one card was again really devastating. So they are just making it go from a 2/1 to a 1/1. The body that's left over will still be a little bit effective, and you can certainly use it as like a feeder unit, but you're not going to be racking up those, you know, turn 1 Reaper, turn 2 Cursed Keeper, turn 3 Blighted Caretaker starts and have them be insane. They're still going to be incredibly good, but there were times where, like, if you did that 1 through 3, especially if you were attacking on odds, like, you just won the game off of that start. So those 2 cards get updated. We also have region roads opening up for Shurima, Targon, and Ionia, so you can get some more rewards. We got a new board coming, the Time Temple. I actually really like the look of this board. All of the music in this game is outstanding, but I'm looking forward to seeing what the music for this is like, because I could totally see this being something that has a lot of like weird TikTok stuff in the background, and that might end up ruining it for me. I love the music on the Earth board, but I hate the machine gun sounds, so I didn't purchase it. So as long as this has no weird things, I'll likely pick this board up because I really like the look of it. But Guardians, Chip is coming. We all love Chip. I love Chip. You love Chip. We knew Chip was coming as a Guardian, but as a special surprise that I did not know was coming, Chip 2.0 Chrono Chip is also going to be an option. So I wanted to showcase this as well. Zillion card back. I actually really like this as far as the Zillion card back goes. Zillion emote. This is the back away slowly. Then you've got Irelia just blocking everything, and then icon, bundle, etc., etc. But really, I just wanted to show off the fact that we are getting a Chrono Chip. So we get Chip times 2 coming tomorrow. Again, the expansion is tomorrow. So that's it for this video. If you made it this far, I appreciate you. As always, thank you for watching. I want to know what your day 1 deck is going to be, what you're most excited about playing. And yeah, I guess that's it. I don't have much else to say. I wanted to go theory craft and deck build now. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to end the video and I'm going to go theory craft and deck build. And until next time, may you walk on warm sands.